Hello everyone, welcome to East West Horizon. This is California. I'm Sylvia Tian. Chinese Kung Fu is always well known outside of China. Before the summer vacation, the summer camp of Kung Fu Dragon USA in Northern California was already full. We came to the US in 2007 and started our school in 2013. That's our first Kung Fu school. How many students do you have now? How many students have you taught so far? Talking about teaching, we have about 2,000 students so far.
My name is Jackson, and I want to become a black belt and learn how to defend myself.
Basically, I'm from Dubai.
Dubai? Oh, really?
Yeah.
So why do you send your daughter to a Kung Fu school?
Mainly because for her to have a physical activity, so it helps her to increase her stamina and and to discipline her. One main thing, she get good discipline from here, for listening and.
I could do it.
So you have both of your kids here?
No, this is just my daughter. This is my friend's son, and his friend's daughter as well. We just carpool alternate days. One day I take them, and the day my friend takes.
Here's my son Austin. He's 5 years old, learning Kung Fu.
Why do you want to send him to Kung Fu?
For me, there are two reasons why. The first reason is for self-defense. If anything ever happens to him in the future or anything like that, he has the confidence of what he needs to know and what he needs to do, just in case if something ever happens. Then for the second part of it, it's just more mainly, besides self-defense, it's just more about the cultural part of it, learning part of the Chinese culture. So besides he knows the American culture, he can learn also the Chinese culture for his part.
Why do you still want to keep Chinese culture in your heritage in United States since you're already born and raised here?
Well, because the thing about it is that my parents are originally from Zhuhai, right? So I grew up with that part of that culture of Zhuhai. And I understand that in each province it's a little different in a way perspective. So when we were born, we only knew that part of the culture and our Hawaiian culture because we're part Hawaiian. That's why I like to keep the culture going so they know who they are and they know what they will represent in the future.
It is the Americans who really like to study Kung Fu. That is, the Chinese will let their children learn Kung Fu, but Chinese parents themselves will not learn Kung Fu. Most adults who learn martial arts are Americans, who are obsessed with Kung Fu to a certain degree. They will ask, "Master, how do I do this? How do I do that? And why?" They like it very much. What they like is not just Kung Fu, they like the connotation of Chinese Kung Fu. They like the meaning of Kung Fu's offensive and defensive awareness. Not only students, but to our surprise, the black belt master in Kung Fu Dragon USA is a genuine American too.
My name is Jacob Thompson.
Why do you practice Kung Fu as a foreigner? It's rare.
Because for me, when I was growing up, I was bullied a lot in elementary school, and one of my friends talked to his grandfather about me, so his grandfather wound up teaching me, because they were Chinese, so he wound up teaching me Chinese Kung Fu.
Jacob learned Kung Fu not because he was inspired by Chinese culture at that time, but because of school bullying. Yes, a big-nosed, chubby American kid was bullied by his classmates. In the end, Chinese Kung Fu saved him and made a turning point.
I had two kids. One used to hit me in the stomach, knock the wind out of me. Another one used to jump and kick me in the face and bust my nose, because my nose bleeds very easy. So they did it for fun. I was never tough. I was always soft. So my Sifu taught me how to be stronger. And part of it's actually kind of being more violent.
Can you say Kung Fu actually rebuilt your personality or characteristics?
Yes. In a heartbeat, yes. Because I couldn't do anything. So like I said before, right? My friend had to watch me get bullied.
As an American, what did he experience in learning Chinese Kung Fu with a Shaolin Temple master?
Kung Fu is about failing up. You figure out where you're at, and then you work yourself back up. And so you always have a realization with Kung Fu. And so with me, that's kind of how it is. The traditional way is, this is where you lack, this is where you need to build up. Same thing in life. You lack in discipline, you gotta build it up.
Learn to be tough and learn it through a tough way is always a Chinese culture. Will Jacob understand it?
Like if anytime he basically told me any lessons or told me anything, just because of his accent, I'd be like, what? He just hit me in the throat. So kept getting hit in the throat, hit in the throat, hit in the throat. So when he hit me, I can't breathe. Then it's like, hey, you listen when I speak. I'm like, I was, but I just didn't understand what you said. Try harder. So my throat got stronger. So it's called like the iron throat. So then a lot of the traditional training, you have to hit your body to get tolerant. So then as your body gets tolerant, then when certain things happen to you, it doesn't affect you the same anymore.
From clothing to etiquette, Chinese Kung Fu is permeated with strong Chinese culture. In addition to physical fitness and self-defense, Kung Fu also represents the hardcore Chinese value, very different, even bipolar from American culture. How will American master interpret it?
Growing up, a lot of the culture is very similar. But actually nowadays, a lot of stuff is much more different. The way that you approach different things, the way that you have to kind of tiptoe around a lot of stuff. And Kung Fu, you don't tiptoe around it. You're basically straight up. So that's the hard part with a lot of things now, right? And that's one of the parts about Kung Fu that I like about the confidence part. So what I mean by that is nowadays you have to be soft on what you say. You have to be careful about everybody else's feelings and how the way you approach different things. It's the same way like when I approach talking about my seafood. Not everybody would like me talking about him the way I talk about him. But to me, he was a great man. Nowadays, American culture isn't what it used to be. Back in the day, it was, we have our holidays. We celebrate everybody for who they are, for what they are, wherever their heritage is, whatever their culture is. We don't hate on it or separate against it. We bring it into the melting pot. And then you bring it in and you start basically bringing everybody in as a whole, as a family.
Embrace it.
Yeah, like when we used to live on a block together, the whole block is like one family. Now you don't even know your next door neighbor or the other neighbor. And then when you go to try to talk to them, they don't want to give you the time of day. So then what makes you want to give them the time of day? There's no more bonding anymore. Nobody puts himself out there. Everybody keeps himself away. And then as everybody keeps separating themselves and keeping them away, then everybody wants to talk about big issues instead of actually meeting people. So one of the things I've always learned growing up is people are stupid, a person is smart. When you try to talk to a whole group, it's very hard because there's a group mentality there. And some people, even though they might have a different opinion, they don't have the courage or the confidence to stand up for themselves in a group. They might want to make a choice, but they won't do that choice in the group. They'll only do it by themselves, which is where that comes from. People are stupid, a person is smart. As a group, there's a group mentality. Some people don't want to be the one standing out. They don't want to be the unique one. They don't want to be the unicorn.
That's what you think is currently now in United States.
Correct. Nobody understands how to celebrate the fact of being a unicorn.
I'm very proud of my Chinese heritage and also very proud of my Hawaiian culture as also. Because I was born and raised in Hawaii, as you know, and my parents taught me to always be proud of who you are, including my grandparents. They always taught me to be proud of who you are, and it doesn't matter which background you have. Be proud of everything that all the people who came before you, and for all the people who are after you, including yourself.
In fact, there are many after-school programs and martial art gyms in the United States. The disciples from the Shaolin Temple started from scratch and established Shaolin Kung Fu schools one after another, like Spark, spreading self-confidence from other side of the Pacific Ocean. All other ethnic groups come and learn Kung Fu is great. If Kung Fu is only in China, it will only exist among Chinese. Chinese Kung Fu is originated in China. It should benefit the whole world. You mean Kung Fu is created in China but should be accepted in the whole world? Yes, that's right. That is all for today. If you have story related to Kung Fu, please feel free to leave your comments here. I will love to see you again next time.